Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, this evening, I'm going to do a couple of Google Hangouts. This first Hangout is going to focus on Botham John. That's the brother in the Dallas area who was in his apartment minding his own business. And you had this police officer by the name of Amber Guyger proceed to enter this brother's apartment and shoot and kill this brother. Now, this woman claims that she went to the wrong apartment. She didn't know it was the wrong apartment. And she claims that she thought he was an intruder. When she entered the apartment, she claims that it was dark in there. She claims that she saw a large silhouette of a dark figure. And she proceeded to shoot and kill this brother because she thought he was an intruder in her apartment. But as I said, it turned out that she was not in her apartment. She was, in fact, in his apartment, and she went to the wrong apartment. Now, despite claiming that she went to the wrong apartment and claiming that the door was already open and ajar when she got there, the fact of the matter is there are witnesses who claim that they heard this woman say, let me in, several times before going in there and killing this brother. So there are serious questions around this case. This woman has been charged with manslaughter, and they're saying that if more information comes out, she can possibly be charged with murder. So this matter is under investigation. You know, she is out on bond, and there have been some developments in the case that I want to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is just the treatment of protesters versus the treatment of this woman who killed this brother. Now, you had some protesters. From what I understand, they obstructed traffic. It was like 9 of these protesters. And these protesters were immediately arrested, unlike this situation involving this woman, you know, this killer, Amber Guyger. It took them more than a day to arrest this woman, despite the fact that she gunned down this black man in his own apartment. This brother was unarmed. He did absolutely nothing wrong. The police officer had no reason to be in his apartment. Despite all of that, you know, this woman killed this brother. And despite the facts, but despite all those facts, it took law enforcement a couple of days to get their act together and arrest this woman. But when it came to these protesters who were protesting against this injustice, they were immediately locked up. When it came to these protesters, they were held for 48 hours in jail. But when it came to this woman who gunned down this brother, that woman was only in jail for like an hour, and then she was able to bond out. And I just want to talk about that in a second. I want to provide my analysis of that situation, but I just want to lay out these developments before I go into my analysis. The second thing that I found out about this case, which is very odd, is that there were 5 search warrants. 2 were to allow the removal of the front door of the apartment building so that they could keep track of the entrance into that building, like the number of times that both of them entered their building compared to the number of times that the officer entered, so that they could gather information. There was a warrant to allow police to enter Botham John's apartment and search his apartment. And then there was a warrant to review the video surveillance camera footage. So that was a warrant so that they could see what happened when people went into the unit, you know, into the apartment building, and etc. And then there was a warrant to obtain any communications dealing with this whole incident, any communications that the property management company had regarding this incident. So you have all these warrants. You have 5 warrants, but not one warrant for this officer's apartment to be searched. Not one warrant. Why is that? Why are they searching everybody except the person who is responsible for the lynching of this brother? Why is that? And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. There's just a few other points that I want to raise before I get into my analysis. And then, you know, this is something that a lot of people have talked about, is the smear of this brother, Botham John. On the day when he was being buried, from what I understand, at 5 o'clock, the police department released information about the search warrant, and they said that marijuana was found in Botham Jean's apartment. They released this information to the public, and it's by design. I'll get into that a little bit later, but they released that information. Again, they did not search the officer's apartment who killed his brother. Instead, they want to search the victim's apartment. And this marijuana that they allegedly found in the apartment has absolutely nothing at all to do with this killing, because the police officer didn't claim that she was there to search his apartment for drugs. She didn't have any kind of search warrant. She didn't have an arrest warrant. She had zero reason to be at that brother's apartment. She had zero justification for killing this brother. Again, he was in his own apartment, minding his own business. He was unarmed. He wasn't accused of any kind of criminal activity, but yet they want to bring up this issue of marijuana allegedly being in his apartment. And from what I understand, it was a small quantity of marijuana. And the last thing I want to address before I go into my analysis of this situation is some statement that Ted Cruz made. As you all know, he's a U.S. Senator from Texas. He represents the state of Texas. And he was asked about some statements that his Democratic opponent made about this particular case. Now, his opponent is advocating for this officer to be punished and all this and that. The opponent's name is O'Rourke. He's a Democrat again, and he's been, renouncing this incident, calling it out. And you have Ted Cruz, who basically says that Democrats shouldn't rush to judgment. He said that it could be a horrific mistake. People are quick to blame the officer. All of this kind of stuff, making all kinds of excuses for this officer. Giving this officer the benefit of the doubt under these horrific facts, assuming that it possibly may be a mistake. I don't think this is a mistake at all. You have to explain to me how the hell someone mixes up their apartment, not realize that they are in the wrong apartment on the wrong floor. How does somebody make that mistake? Especially when you see the unit number in front of the door. How do you mess that up? How did she get into this apartment? She claims that the door was ajar. That's her story. But then again, you have witnesses who said that this woman repeatedly said, "Let me in." So there are all kinds of questions around this case. And this man, Ted Cruz, is simply trying to appeal to law enforcement. He knows that there are certain elements that tend to support right-wing candidates like him who will support the police regardless of what happened. If a black man is involved, they will side with the police every time. And this man knows this. That's the reason why he felt comfortable giving these police the benefit of the doubt. That's the reason why he would do that. Here you have one of the most egregious cases of police brutality ever, but yet you have this right-wing Republican trying to rationalize this and give it the benefit of the doubt. I think that this is insane. This tells us loudly and clearly that this man doesn't give a damn about the interests of black people, period. And the thing is, I've seen these memes on Facebook dealing with this guy. This is a guy who's quote unquote Latino. This is a guy who is not even a white American. He's from Cuba. He is an immigrant from Cuba. His family is from Cuba. But yet, this is one of these same people that are hardliners that want to take this posture and pretend like they're just like the rest of these racist white rebel type of conservatives that are down with the Confederate flag. He wants us to believe that he's basically the typical cracker down there in the South, when the fact of the matter is he's one of these people that those racist people would discriminate against because he's not a white person, but he wants to adapt, this white racist type of mentality. And this is just sickening, man. So let's get into it. Let me do my quick analysis of this case, and then I'm going to go to your comments. I'm going to read your comments in a second, right after I do my brief commentary on this situation. So the first thing is this, man. This is a prime example of the criminalization and dehumanization of Black people. Here you have a brother who was minding his own business in his own apartment. You know, somebody that's a professional, someone that's accomplished, someone that is from a distinguished family, but yet they had to find some kind of way to try to dehumanize this brother, to smear this brother. So what did they do? They released, you know, the information about this search warrant, basically trying to suggest that this brother is some kind of criminal, simply for having a small quantity of marijuana. Again, that is completely irrelevant because that woman didn't claim that she was there because of drugs, because of some drug investigation. She had no reason at all to be in his apartment. So it's completely irrelevant. Possessing a small quantity of marijuana is not a capital offense. No one should be gunned down over that. And that certainly shouldn't be used as some kind of after the fact, you know, justification or some kind of after the fact item that someone throws out there to smear this brother, to make him less than credible, to make it seem as if there's something wrong with him, that somehow he deserves this. And this is nothing new. This is what happens all the time. These people regularly try to blame the victim. They regularly try to smear the victim and criminalize the victim. That's what they did to Trayvon Martin. You all remember Trayvon Martin, how they dealt with that brother. Here you have a brother who goes to a convenience store, buys some Skittles and some iced tea, and he's minding his own business, trying to get home. Trying to get home. He has every reason and every right to be where he was at that particular time. And then you have this hothead, this asshole, this jerk, this damn racist, George Zimmerman, who sees this brother, follows this brother, you know, calls the police on this brother, assuming that this brother is up to no good, assuming that this brother is a criminal. By the virtue of the color of his skin, just by the color of his skin, he's assuming that this brother is a criminal. So he calls the police. The police tell this man to stand down, not to follow him. But what does George Zimmerman do? He continues to follow this brother. He starts to harass this brother. He gets into a confrontation with this brother, and he shoots and kills this brother, shoots this brother through the heart. And before the case went to trial, you had all these images of Trayvon Martin on social media. Images designed to tarnish his image. Images designed to dehumanize him. Images designed to make people desensitized to the tragedy, to justify the tragedy. So they had images of him with a gun, images of him smoking marijuana, images of him throwing up the middle finger. All these images designed to make this brother less sympathetic, designed to make it so that the jury would be able to write this brother's life off and, you know, release this criminal, George Zimmerman, to the public. And that's exactly what happened. So this situation involving Botham Jean is no different from that. They're trying to criminalize this brother. They're trying to smear this brother. And we saw this with the Michael Brown case, where they released footage of an incident that happened inside of the store, you know, basically making it seem like, basically saying that the brother robbed the store and this and that, trying to paint this picture that he's some violent criminal, some thug, some hooligan. And after releasing that image, it was easy for the public to be desensitized to the the reality that this brother got gunned down in the street. It was easy for them to be desensitized to the fact that the pigs, the police, allowed that brother's body to lay out in the street for hours upon hours. It was easy for them to be desensitized to such a degree that they would let that killer walk free, that officer walk free without even being charged at all. That's how they do. I mean, that is what the role of propaganda. We saw this propaganda in Nazi Germany where they dehumanized the Jews. They dehumanized them to such an extent that when the genocide against the Jews was going on, people had no empathy. People had no sympathy. People did not care about it. And, you know, this whole situation is a larger, you know, just an example of the larger problem. You know, this larger problem of propaganda, this larger problem of dehumanization and criminalization of Black people. This is just another example of that. Also, you know, the last point that I want to make is this, man. This system and many of these people, these white people in particular, they have more hostility towards the protesters against injustice than they do against the actual injustice that takes place. You see how they are dealing with Colin Kaepernick, how they're trying to persecute this brother, how you have these NFL teams colluding against this brother, trying to prevent this brother from having a job, prevent this brother from ever playing football again, simply because he spoke out against police brutality by refusing to stand during the playing of the national anthem. So they're trying to make an example of this brother, persecute this brother. These people are more upset with him than they are with the killing of Eric Garner. They're more upset with him than they are with the killing of Sam DuBose. They're more upset with him than they were about the killing of Walter Scott and all the other countless Black people killed by these police. They're more upset with that. These people were outraged that Nike decided to have Colin Kaepernick in their ads. They were outraged about that. But these same people that were burning their Nikes over an ad, they didn't say a damn thing about all these Black men and women being killed by these police. They didn't have a single protest about that stuff. But yet they're outraged because Nike decides to endorse a man who has spoken out against police brutality. That tells you how this society is. This society condemns Black men and women who speak out against injustice. They condemn them, they kill them, they lock them up. We saw what happened with COINTELPRO. These people are more outraged against those of us who have the courage to speak out than they are against the pigs, the police who kill our people. These people are more outraged about that Nike ad than they are about this brother, Botham Jean, being gunned down in his own apartment. And that just tells you the mentality of these people. But I'm going to go through your comments now. And then I'm going to close this out and do another live stream. There's a couple of other live streams that I want to do tonight. Shout out to Lightbearer. Shout out to Hollow Ninja 10. Shout out to my man Water Sniper. Yeah, you're right, Hollow Ninja. I mean, it is just another day in America, man. This is America. I mean, just like that song that the brother Childish Gambino has. This is America, man. Just like in that video where you had Childish Gambino shooting all these people and then just carrying on with business as usual, dancing, you know, to a tune right after gunning people down. That's what happens in America every day. Whether we're talking about these mass shootings or we're talking about these police killing our brothers and sisters in the streets, man. They kill our people and business continues as usual. We have a hashtag moment. You'll see a couple of protests and then it's business as usual. You know, it's outrageous, man. Yeah, you're right. I mean, Water Sniper, she is full of it, man. Something about her story just doesn't add up. I don't believe that it was an accident. You know, nobody makes that kind of mistake. Doesn't make any kind of sense. Yeah, that's a very good point, Hollow Ninja. I mean, the marijuana could be planted. You know, I was reading this. One of my friends on Facebook posted a status, and they were talking about some Dave Chappelle episode where it featured a brother being killed in his own apartment, and the police tried to cover it up by sprinkling some crack in the apartment, by basically saying that this was some drug related incident or whatever. And that's what this situation reminds me of. It's possible that they may have planted it. I don't trust police at all. I don't trust them at all. I never give them the benefit of the doubt because they lie too often. Here in Baltimore, there's footage of police planting drugs on people. There were police officers indicted here for all kinds of offenses. And one of the things that came out was the fact that they would walk around with toy guns that they could use to plant on suspects after shooting them to cover up their crimes. You got reports of police robbing people, engaging in all kinds of thuggery, lying on the stand, all kinds of stuff. So I don't trust these police at all, man. And I don't, uh, take the position that they can't do something like plant drugs. I've seen video footage, again, of police planting drugs, so I don't trust them. And that's a very real possibility. Shout out to Concrete Jungle. Shout out to Malkovich. Yeah, so Water Sniper said, I don't care if he had marijuana or 5 bags of crack. What does that have to do with her going to his apartment and shooting him? Exactly, because she admits that she thought that she wasn't there for any kind of criminal offense or anything like that. She was there allegedly by mistake. She thought she was going into her own apartment. So I feel you on that. I agree. It doesn't matter what they found. Shout out to Darlene B. Yeah, I think they are protecting her. I agree with that. You know, they probably are protecting her. And the reason why they're protecting her is because they know that they face liability, if it's proven that she was in the wrong. They know that that team of attorneys is not just going to be satisfied with a criminal conviction. They know that those attorneys are going to sue the hell out of that city if they haven't already done so. And if I was them, I would sue well before that criminal case goes to trial. Just like the attorneys did here in Baltimore. They sued the city before the case went to trial. Yeah, so I agree with y'all, man. The drugs were probably planted. I don't know that for sure, but I wouldn't doubt it. Just bear with me a second. Yeah, YouTube is automatically hiding certain comments, so y'all have to excuse me. But you're right, Darlene B. Ted Cruz is an asshole, man. So Macom said new information is coming out about the cop and it isn't good. I would be interested in knowing what that information is. Yeah, so Macom said investigators are not releasing any details on the connection between Jean and Guyger. Articles that I read said that there was no connection between the two of them. The attorneys for the family say that there was no connection or they don't have any evidence of a connection. There's no evidence of any kind of relationship or whatever between the two of them. So until I have details about that, I won't say anything about that. I know that there was a lot of speculation on social media. You had a lot of people claiming that they were dating and this and that, speculating. I won't make any statements on that until I have actual facts to back that up. Yeah, you're right, Water Sniper. It is like after the fact scapegoating, because it's like they're trying to cover their tracks, so they had to throw out this marijuana thing. And they had to do that especially because here you have a situation where this brother is not a thug, where this brother is not a drug dealer, where this brother is educated, where this brother is accomplished, where this brother comes from a good family. So they had to throw some dirt on his name. They had to come up with some kind of way to smear him, to make him less sympathetic to the public for a couple of reasons. Number one, for the civil suit that's coming, and number two, for these criminal charges that are pending to help defend their fellow police officer. Why did it take them over a day to arrest this woman in a clear case of unjustified homicide? Exactly, Norris Cool. This proves that Colin told the truth, man. This kind of incident just makes it abundantly clear why those protests at the NFL are still necessary. It makes it abundantly clear. And it makes it abundantly clear why we should not be supporting the NFL as well. If they're going to try to silence that brother, Colin Kaepernick, by preventing him from being picked up by any team, then we don't need to be supporting the NFL. That tells me loudly and clearly that they don't give a damn about black people, even though the majority of the players are black, even though black people are watching these games and going to these games. They don't care nothing about the interests of black people. And yeah, I mean, it's just outrageous, man. I mean, how many more examples do people need to see before they realize that this police brutality issue is real? Yeah, exactly. This is what he took a stand for. Yeah, so I guess if yeah, this YouTube is automatically hiding some comments. I think if you use profanity or something, they hide comments. So just bear with me a second. Yeah, I don't have any evidence of a romantic relationship. Yeah, so I can't speculate on that. I know that a lot of people ran out there without the facts, with just running off of what was on Twitter or something like that. I need more than that before I get on here and make assertions. I need credible sources before I would make such representations. Oh, I see that Hollow Ninja says that that officer had a post on Pinterest, and I think I did see something about Pinterest, but I didn't read that article. I'm gonna look on social media and do a Google search to see if I find that article on Pinterest, and I will post it in the description box if I come across it. But Hollow Ninja is saying that on her post, she said that she puts on her police uniform and she feels ready to kill. She feels like she's ready to kill. And she commented on that post. So I'm gonna have to look that up. If I find it, I'll post it in the description box after this video uploads. Yeah, that's a great point, Audio. They did withhold her identity for quite some time. Like after this killing took place, I remember like I was on some trip, I was in the airport, and I was like, why aren't they saying her name? I read all these articles. Her name wasn't mentioned. Her image wasn't shown. Why were they hiding that? Yeah, so Hollow Ninja said after seeing that post, that tells you um, who she is. She's a killer. Yeah, and that's something that, reminds me of this Trayvon Martin thing, because like as much as they tried to paint Trayvon Martin as a thug, later it was revealed that George Zimmerman was the thug, man. Just like in this situation, she is the thug. This officer is the thug, and too often these police officers are the real thugs in the community. These police officers are the real gangs in the community. All right, so I see somebody did a video on Pinterest, the Pinterest information, and I see a couple of people did videos on that. Yeah, so I'm gonna look that up and I'll post information about it after the fact. And I see that some people were mentioning that a couple of other YouTubers had talked about that. And unlike those other YouTubers, like I actually have a job, so I'm like, I have very limited time. So unfortunately, I can't put out my content like as soon as a story breaks. I mean, like some of these people, I'm like, YouTube must be their job, because as soon as a story comes out, like in 10 minutes after that story is released, they have a video up on YouTube. And, I appreciate their hustle and their effort and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of stuff to keep up with. I just don't have that kind of time on my hands. I don't have the time or the luxury to be able to put out stories right away, as soon as they break and all that kind of stuff. But I do what I can, and I'm going to look up those articles dealing with that Pinterest post again, and I will include that in the description box after this video uploads. Yeah, so with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings to each and every one of you. I hope that you all stick around. If you don't already have me in your notifications, please hit that bell so that you will automatically know when I upload a video. I have 2 more live streams that I want to do before I leave tonight, before I go to sleep tonight. There's 2 more that I'm going to do back to back. And I really like this interaction. I like being able to talk to you all live and hear your comments live. There's one quick announcement that I want to make again. And I'll probably just have to do that in my other videos, my other live streams for tonight. But I'll just say this. On September 30th, which is Sunday, not this coming Sunday, but the following Sunday, I'm going to have an interview with media mogul Brandy Mitchell. I hope that you all can tune in for that. That's going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I have a video up promoting it. I'll post a link in the cards when I get a chance to. It has links to her website so that you can get information about her. It's going to be a very engaging interview. This woman has worked with all kinds of very famous people, and she's doing big things. She has a documentary. She has 4 books. And her most recent book is an inspirational type of motivation book, very positive type of material. So I hope that you all can tune in for that. Again, that's September 30th on a Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So before I close out, I'm just going to look real quick at your comments before I close out to see if there's anything else that I need to respond to. Yeah, so I think I'm good. So I'm going to be back on here in a couple of minutes. So I hope that y'all stick around, hit the like button, hit the notifications bell, and support your man, New Possibilities. I have a PayPal donation link on my channel page. You all can hit that up and donate, or you can hit the super chat to support this channel. YouTube is really, basically gotten rid of, revenue through AdSense. So, I appreciate any support that you all can provide. Obviously I'm not in it for the money, but it helps to, show a token of support. So with that, I'm going to say peace and blessings. I'll be back up in a few minutes.